I'd like to give you a quick example on how we can use Creo NC to cut this part. I'm going to create some positioning moves to cut some of the contours on this one face on the front, on the right hand face. Then I'm going to make a cut that will basically cut this top lip off the part, progressing around the part. I want to show you different methods of controlling the tool axis. What I have is set up is the operation program 0 I have set down here in the base, center of the part. You can position that wherever you'd like to. So I'm going to start by creating my first cut. I'm going to create what we call a trajectory sequence. I'm going to pick the tool. I'm going to pick a coordinate system for tool orientation. I'm going to select parameters, things like speed, amount of stock, and so on. I'm going to specify a clearance for this cut, and I'll pull it out to about 5.5. Then I'm going to jump right into tool motions. This is where I'm going to select the edges to cut. I'm going to create my first curve cut. I'll set the edge, and with my parameters I have a lead in and a lead out set to 100 thousandths. You can preset this the way you want to do it and or change it on the fly. So there I've cut my first cut out, and I can progress and cut the remainder on this surface. Here I'm going to cut that rectangular window. Now I do want to point out the starting position can be graphically dragged to where you'd like it. You notice the number associated with where I dragged it to. This is basically a percentage along that edge. So if I want it to be exactly in half, I can type in 0.5. That will be halfway along that edge. So I could continue cutting the rest of the cutouts with this method. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump and cut some of the holes on the right hand side. It'll be the same thing. Trajectory milling. Up here at this sequence, I'm going to go ahead and specify this coordinate system for tool orientation. I'm going to specify a clearance. Different methods of creating a clearance plane. We can even create clearance cylinders around the part if you wish. Parameters. I'm going to copy those from my previous sequence. Jump right into tool motions. This is where I'm going to create a number of curve cuts. This is where I will grab the edges and there, drag the starting position if needed. So there I cut the large circle. I'm going to cut the smaller, and so on. I progress and do the remaining 4 if I wanted to completely cut that side. Now what I didn't do at the sequence level is select play path. I could do that at the sequence level, or I could do this at the operation, which is show me every cut within this program. So I will hit play path. My tool will show up. I'll slow the display down a little bit, and it's going to show the cutting sequences that I've generated so far. Now how we retract between these holes, I set a clearance of 5 inches. Maybe you want to keep it down closer to the part. Different ways we can accomplish that. So now it's cutting on the right hand side. To show some of the 5-axis capability, I'm going to go ahead and, like I mentioned, I'm going to trim around the perimeter of this top edge, controlling the tool axis a number of different ways. So I'm going to go to trajectory milling. I'm going to select 5-axis. I'm going to start by selecting this coordinate system for tool orientation and the clearance. And for 5-axis, like I mentioned before, I could have a cylindrical retractor on the part. Parameters. I'm going to steal the parameters from an existing sequence. I'm going to jump right into tool motions. Create my first tool cut, curve cut, and I'm going to select the edges around the perimeter of the top of the part. Hit shift, it grabs them all the way around. I'm going to grab my starting location, maybe halfway along that edge. And I can come down here and I get a preview of the tool axis. Now I'm in 3-axis. I did not specify that I wanted any type of tool axis, so I can see this is definitely not what I want. If I go to, move this window over a little bit, go to this axis control, number of different ways I can cut this part. I can actually pivot around an existing point or an axis. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and I have a datum axis down through the center of the part. So if you don't want a sharp movement around these corners, these small corners, you can have a gradual cut where the head will reorient as it cuts around the perimeter. So I'll hit play path here. You can see that the tool is going to cut around and gradually change its orientation as it cuts around the part, staying normal to that axis. I'm going to go back to that curve cut I just created, and let's try another method of controlling the tool axis. Let's go ahead and pick at a location. So by default, it's 3-axis type of output. I'm going to select the first location. It starts here in the center. It's going to cut over to this first location. So I'm going to specify this as a location, and I'm going to go ahead and turn my tool axis preview on. What I can do, it automatically says, oh, I'm going to cut normal, and I like that. So I want the tool to come out normal to the contour all the way around. Very simple thing to do. So I'll hit play path, speed this up a little bit. You can see at the corners it'll make a lot of quick rotation around that small corner because it's staying normal to the part. Now if you don't like the direction it's cutting, that's one thing I didn't even specify. I can go back to this curve cut, specify a new direction. Now it's going to cut around the opposite direction. I'm going to specify another location. Maybe as I get down toward the back side, I'd like to tilt the head up a little bit. So I'm going to specify a new location. So at this location, I would like the tool orientation. I'll turn the preview back on. I'm going to turn the tool orientation maybe down a little bit. Now I'm graphically dragging this, and you can graphically see the motion. There's also a number here if you want to key in an exact value. So if I want to go 75 degrees, I can key the value in. So I'm going to rotate this around. I want it to remain at that canted position at 75 degrees until I get to this location. So I'm going to add a new location. So right here, I would like to drag this up so I'm back normal. I'll put 90 degrees in here. So the quick preview can show me that the cutter is going to start, the laser is going to start cutting, canting down at that angle, progressing along that cut, coming back up to 90 degrees and finishing. So there are different methods. This could be real handy if you're cutting inside a corner where you can't stay normal to the part. The head would actually bang against the opposite side. You may want to jump in and use this type of method to control the orientation right in the corner. So I'll hit play path. This is the type of tool motion I'm getting. It's canting down, canting back up, and finishing the cut normal to the part.